Before we get to that fight, which as Max points out, takes place in the light heavyweight division, we'll go to the junior featherweight division, where Israel Vazquez has become the main man after his second KO victory over Oscar Larios. Larios, incidentally, headed off to the Philippines this summer to fight Manny Pacquiao. 5-year age advantage for Ivan Hernandez, the young gun who goes against Vazquez in this fight. They're both 5 feet 6 inches tall. A 1-inch arm length advantage measured from the armpit to the end of the fist for Ivan Chaco Hernandez. They both weighed in right on the limit at 122 pounds. Tonight, Hernandez goes up to 131 unofficially on our HBO scale. Vazquez only to 125. Despite the 6-pound weight disadvantage, Vazquez still regarded as the bigger puncher in the fight. Rules of the bout with our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
The Israel Vazquez Chaco Hernandez fight is scheduled for 12 rounds using the unified rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions.
In the morning and he finishes up at 7:30 at night. That's why he works very hard. He lives in that gym.
Eddie Futch probably taught him that one. Let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer now for the official introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the Borgata Hotel Casino of Atlantic City, New Jersey, we welcome you to a world title contest. This is a presentation of Star Boxing and Golden Boy Promotions, sanctioned by the World Boxing Council and the New Jersey State Athletic Control Board. At ringside, the 3 judges scoring this bout will be Tommy Kazmarek, John McCarthy, and Paul Venti. And when the bell rings, the man inside the ring in charge of the action, referee Earl Morton. And now, 12 rounds of boxing for the WBC Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing red trimmed with silver, official weight 122 pounds, professional record 23 victories including 13 knockouts, only 1 defeat with 1 draw. From Ensenada, Mexico, the challenger, former WBO Super Flyweight Champion of the World, Ivan Choco Hernandez. And his opponent, Across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing red, trimmed with white, official weight 122 pounds. Professional record 39 victories, including 29 knockouts with 3 defeats. De Ciudad de Mexico, the reigning, defending WBC Super Bantamweight Champion of the World, Israel El Magnifico Vazquez.
Listen, you're fighting for the WBC Super Bantamweight Championship of the World. I expect you to obey my commands. I gave each one of y'all the instructions in the dressing room, all right? I want you to protect yourself at all times and give me a good, clean break. Touch gloves and good luck.
Vazquez, like Camacho, like Pacquiao, trained by Freddie Roach, is a southpaw power puncher.
You need only to look at them to see that Israel Vazquez has the stronger body. And Ivan Hernandez acknowledged to us yesterday in a fighter meeting, I have to be the boxer in this fight. I don't always cast myself as the boxer. I'd like to punch, but in this instance, I can't trade with him in a free-flow fashion. I've got to outbox him. And you see the V torso of Vazquez from behind. That's where the power comes from. Very big shoulders, Manny, for a 122-pound fighter.
Very, very physically strong, imposing fighter. You can just see even when he jabs, he moves his man off balance with his jab. Whereas the jabs from Hernandez are just little point getters.
Vazquez fighting in a conventional stance here. As Larry told you, he's done damage from southpaw, but here he fights with the left hand out in front. Hard right hand over the top by Vazquez, just a little short. Chucker Hernandez firing the left uppercut.
I'm a little confused.
Hernandez stops and hits a straight right hand, yeah?
I'm a little confused over who is promoted by Golden Boy Promotions. I see a Golden Boy label, a patch on both of the guys' trunks.
Well, there's your answer. They are both promoted by Golden Boy.
Yeah, I think Vazquez is co-promoted by Golden Boy and another promotion company.
Pull it out.
I'm beginning to think
Sequan,
yeah.
which also has Joan Guzman in partnership with Golden Boy.
You know, I'm beginning to think
as
that
Paez,
Jim, I'm beginning to think maybe I misspoke when I said that he was a southpaw. He was a very powerful southpaw puncher, but he's fighting in a conventional style now and looking like that's his style.
Absolutely, and you can see that they have very similar trunks, so I'll try to keep them sorted out for you. Israel Vazquez, about whom Larry was speaking there, the bigger puncher of the two is the guy with the frosted hair, the gentleman with the darker hair, and whose trunks are not sequined is Ivan Chucker Hernandez. So sequined trunks Vazquez, non-sequined Hernandez, puncher, frosted hair, non-puncher, boxer, darker hair. Keep it straight that way.
You would think that if they both have the same promoters, they'd be able to sort this trunks business out.
At least change your colors out.
Vazquez fighting at a very fast pace here in round one, putting Hernandez to the test. Hernandez coming up, as Larry mentioned, from 115 all the way to 122. Vazquez didn't seem all that eager yesterday to talk about moving up to 126 or 130 to fight where there's a lot more money to be had. Maybe he's comfortable with his punching advantages here. As this round comes to a close, we're going to take a look at the judges' scorecards from the last fight to see where Serkan and Camacho stood on the official scorecards at the moment when Randy Newman elected to stop the fight in favor of Andre Serkan. Let's take a quick look. And one judge had it 67-66. The other two judges 68-65. All three had Serkan ahead in the fight at the moment of the stoppage. Of course, Harold Letterman also had Serkan leading in the fight. At that time, it was a 10-round fight. Those scores were through 7 rounds, meaning that Camacho would have had to win the last 3 rounds on 2 of the cards to get a draw.
It was just simply a case of one guy being more tenacious and determined than the other, and winning it by outworking it.
Destin Wills.
And being used to being in those kind of fights.
And right now, Hector Camacho Jr. is surely very upset about the stoppage. All right, so we missed the between rounds conversations in the corners of Vazquez and Hernandez. We'll be sure to catch up on what's going on there between the next two rounds. CompuBox numbers in the first: Vazquez 22 out of 90. 90 punches, as I mentioned, a very fast pace. Hernandez 22 out of 78. Conventional wisdom that Vazquez will land with more authority, so if they're landing an equal number of punches, that could be to Vazquez's ultimate advantage. Vazquez is originally from Mexico City, lives in LA. Ivan Hernandez is originally from Mexico City, lives in Ensenada, down in Baja.
You know, I have a feeling, without knowing it, that these two probably have boxed somewhere in the gym or somewhere along the way before.
They fight like they know each other?
It looks like something like it's a rhythm of guys boxing when they've been boxing with each other.
Well, they're not unfriendly, that's for sure. And you may have noticed that during fighter introductions, Hernandez came all the way across the ring to touch gloves with his opponent. That was long before referee's instructions. You don't see it all that often.
It's some kind of camaraderie there between them. So it's a very good fight right now. Vazquez's physical strength and punching power is very obvious, but Hernandez is putting on a great exhibition of boxing. It's much more fluid with his movements.
Absolutely, has terrific footwork, and he gets off punches with either hand. But there's a quick little uppercut inside by Vazquez. Vazquez blocking the left. And there's a hard right hand over the top by Vazquez, and Hernandez comes back with a hard right hand of his own.
Yeah, these guys seem like they've been working before.
Is there blood coming out of the hairline of Ivan Hernandez, or is that his hair? For me to tell. Wondering if I can see a trace of red around the hairline of Ivan Hernandez.
There is blood around the nose of Hernandez. I'm not sure if there's any.
Maybe that's been redistributed up to the hairline. Yes, the nose looks as though it's been bloodied by one of those hard right hands off of Israel Vazquez.
You're looking at two fighters who know how to fight, who want to fight. This is
very clean precision punches, too.
Vazquez inside of Hernandez there, and able to land with a couple of short ones.
Even though Vazquez may be ahead, it's very obvious about the weight and the power. But I still like the fluid movement of Hernandez going down the stretch.
Big left hook for Vazquez, lands with thudding sound. And again, the left thuds for Vazquez. And when we go to the corner between rounds, in Ivan Choco Hernandez's corner where they speak Spanish, we'll be listening to Jerry Olaya. Freddie Roach speaks English to Israel Vazquez.
It's just a little cut from a headbutt.
Sube, 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 sube.
Lift your head.
Sube, sube. Sube para allá, la. Dame acá. Ven, cambia conmigo. Más agüita. Lo estás haciendo bien.
You're doing good. You're doing real good.
No, porque nosotros estamos grite, grite. No te sientas presionado. Tú primero algo.
You keep backing him up. Keep using that jab. All right, in combinations. Watch his head now. Watch his head. Okay, he's using that head a lot. Use these combinations going, okay? Move your head a lot, okay? All right,
Here you can see the headbutt right here. Both guys coming in, colliding. Fortunately, there was only one small butt suffered by Hernandez. Both guys could have got bad cuts.
Talk about even CompuBox numbers in the second round. Vazquez 20 out of 75, Hernandez 21 out of 74. But again, if they are relatively equal in CompuBox numbers, you must take into account that Vazquez lands with more impact.
Vazquez is definitely a harder puncher.
And there is blood in the hairline of Hernandez, as you heard between rounds. It came from, in their view, an accidental headbutt. And I don't think Vazquez is bleeding at all, but Hernandez seems to be bleeding from both the nose and that little cut up in the hairline, though it didn't seem to bother him at all either.
Vazquez's punches seem to have more effect than compared to Hernandez. He's landing very short punches, but you can see the impact is much more than when Hernandez lands a punch, like right there.
Both fighters have fast hands. Great to watch them work at close range. Now the blood is flowing again from the left nostril of Ivan Hernandez. And it's a generous enough flow of blood that he's sure to be aware of it. Has fought through cuts before to win. Hernandez trying to mix it up downstairs and upstairs. Vazquez coming back to land power shots and back him up. Both fighters showing the kind of skill and stamina which can come only from mere lifetimes in the ring. You can't fight this way if you haven't been doing it since you were about 9 or 10 years old.
Yeah, these guys have been boxing a long time.
You know, the thought also occurs to me that, you know, from quantity comes quality. So many fighters from Mexico, and so you get two quality fighters like this facing each other.
Reminding us of some of the brilliant drama we've seen at 122, 126, and 130 pounds over the course of the past several years from Mexican fighters. Of course, this weight, 122 pounds, is the weight at which Marco Antonio Barrera and Derek Morales fought their first legendary fight, February 19, 2000.
A lot of great fights have come in these small weight divisions in recent years. I think a lot of it still has to be credited to Naseem Hamed. Because when he came in, started off the great fight with Kevin Kelly, was just fantastic.
All right, let's go to Bernard Hopkins' dressing room to see him take final instructions from the referee in the main event.
The 3 knockdown rule is not in effect. If the mouthpiece should come out of your mouth or your opponent's, you continue to box until I tell you otherwise. You will box until I tell you to stop. We'll replace it. If there's a knockdown and your mouthpiece should come out or your opponent's mouthpiece come out, the mouthpiece will not be replaced until I feel that boxer can continue. You will get the 8 count, the gloves are wiped, and you will continue until I tell you to stop, and then I'll replace the mouthpiece. Is that clear? Yes. Now, in New Jersey, before the end of the round, there's the indicator. We use the 5-second. So I'm trying to avoid you throwing a flurry after the 5 seconds. Be aware of that. I'm sure you are. You fought here before. Do you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. I want to wish you luck.
Thank you.
And
this has been a mellow Bernard Hopkins all week long. Hopkins, famous or infamous for always looking for something to fight against, express his anger, but coming into his last fight, he seems well under control.
Harold, how do you have it through 3 rounds between Israel Vazquez and Ivan Chucker Hernandez?
Okay, Jim, 3-0, 30-27, Israel Vazquez. Jim, I got to tell you something. This kid is one of the good fighters in the world today. Perfectly balanced, a good 122-pound champion, a guy that really throws hard shots, good head movement, good defense, good ring generalship. On the other hand, Choco Hernandez is a guy that's trying to move up 2 weight divisions. He's an arm puncher, very often on his toes. Vazquez landing the hardest shots. 3-0, Vazquez.
CompuBox numbers in the 3rd round. Vazquez 23 out of 78, Hernandez 16 out of 66. The impact of Vazquez punches, Emmanuel Stewart, is beginning to show up even more graphically now.
It's coming very obvious right now. You can see him landing punches, and you can see the effect of it in seemingly facial expression. Hernandez is right now a little bit more concerned.
Yeah, and there's a lot of blood on Hernandez's face. The nose is flowing freely all the time. I don't know if blood is coming out of the cut on the hairline anymore, or whether there are other damages which have been done to Hernandez's face by Vazquez's hard punching. And I mentioned, incidentally, Marco Antonio Barrera. He's directly across the ring. seated here with his partner Oscar De La Hoya as a member of the Golden Boy Promotions team. Remember, Bernard Hopkins is a partner in the firm as well, as is Shane Mosley, whom you'll see on July 15 against Fernando Vargas.
And this is a very important fight for them too right here. Even though Bernard has announced that he's retiring after this fight, regardless of the outcome, to have him in a corporate position and to win a fight over Tava would be a big asset for Golden Boy Promotions.
The white frosting on the top of Israel Vazquez's hair is beginning to turn bright red from the blood that's flying off the face of Ivan Hernandez.
And Hernandez lands blows, which is often he lands, but you see he doesn't have the impact that Vazquez has when he hits him with it because of the punching power and the difference in weight, natural weight.
It's a macabre decoration which is emerging on the skull of Vazquez now as the frosted hair all turns first orange, then bright red. This has been the roughest round yet, I believe, for Ivan Hernandez as Vazquez's power continues to show up. Look at the grotesque visage of Hernandez now as blood streams from various spots down the middle of his face.
Okay.
And the doctor's going to take a good look at Hernandez in his corner, that's for sure.
And we're going to take a good look at Oscar De La Hoya, who is making such a mark as a promoter. There he is with Marco Antonio Barrera. There was some expectation that Oscar would make an announcement this weekend about his future, whether or not he was going to fight again, whether or not, if he was going to fight again, it was going to be Mayweather in September. All indications he hasn't made his mind up yet.
Earl Morton's stopping the fight, Larry. They're going to stop this fight because Ivan Hernandez is too busted up. So that's going to be the end of it. I apologize for interrupting.
No,
Earl Morton with a stoppage right there.
The fight comes first, but just to complete that, you know, the big question, the only question in boxing today is, well, what is Oscar going to do after his great victory over Mayorga? And we don't know, but some people think, well, the longer he waits, it means he has doubts, and if he has doubts, he's not going to fight again.
And there's a look at Hernandez, who may or may not be disappointed with this stoppage. Emmanuel, the doctor, Howard Taylor, making a judgment that Hernandez could not go on anymore. Do you think that he's bitterly disappointed by that, or?
No, I think he realized that. I can look at his facial expression. It was just how much more damage could he take. I don't think he had any chance of winning by knockout, and that was the only way he could win. So that was a good call.
So you saw the power and the precision of the young man whom Harold Letterman accurately described as one of the better fighters in the world today. Israel Vazquez hasn't shown up on anybody's top 10 pound-for-pound list quite yet, but perhaps that will be coming somewhere down the road. And now let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on Vazquez's victory.
Ladies and gentlemen, acting on the advice of the physicians at ringside, because of an injury suffered to the challenger, Ivan Hernandez, referee Earl Morton calls a halt to the contest. The official time, the end of round 4, winner by TKO victory, still WBC Super Bantamweight World Champion, Israel El Magnifico Vazquez.
Final CompuBox numbers should reflect the increasing dominances of Vazquez in the bout. Yes, as the first few rounds showed us relatively even punch-stat numbers, and Vazquez began to distance himself a little bit there toward the end, but certainly Hernandez gave a great account of himself in the fight for somebody who got busted up the way he did. You saw his boxing skills. You saw how effective he must have been at 115, and you wonder if he's going to stay up at 122 or maybe go back to 118 pounds and try to fish for less powerful opposition. Power punches, and although the numbers don't really show it to you, this is where the big edge existed, because Vazquez was simply the harder, more effective puncher, perhaps at this moment the hardest puncher in the 122-pound weight class. And let's take another look ahead to our next big upcoming pay-per-view date, July 15.